Hello, Jamie from Inky and Scrappy, sharing with you today a hidden slider card using Fawn's Picnic Antics and the car from Car Critters and the Build-A-Tent, and then some dies from Trinity stamps and MFT stamps to create the rest of the background. I'm just kind of figuring out my placement and my layout here, trying to decide what I want to do, and then just kind of marking where that's going to go on that panel piece. So I know that I only have to ink blend so far. I don't need to do the whole panel. So I'm starting with Broken China for my base color here, and then Mermaid Lagoon for my darker shade around the edges, and then I will come in with some chipped sapphire and darken those edges up a little bit more. And then I'm going to grab the salvaged patina and the Slimline cloud stencil from Fawn and add some really light clouds in there. You can see them better in person than you can on camera. And then I am going to splatter this with the Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist. Any sparkly glimmer mist, mica flake type thing would work for that. And then I am just finding the double slider die cuts and the other slider die cut, because I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to make it move across. And then I decided I really didn't want to have the hole in the front of my card. I kind of wanted it to be like a sneaky ant moving the picnic basket thing. So I'm just trying to figure out how far I need it to move. And so then I'm going to tape this down and run it through the die cut machine. And then I will ink my grass. So the short hilly piece here is going to be in the background, and so it's getting the darker ink with the pine needles, and then the one that is in the front is just with some mowed lawn and then some twisted citron. And then I'm taking that leftover ink on the thing and darkening up the tips just a little bit. And yes, my splatter went awry, but that's what images are for. We hide those little mistakes. I wasn't going to start over. So just cleaning up my mess here, and then I'm going to work on figuring out where I need my little notch for my pull tab. And it's easier to cut these two pieces together than it is to try to line them up separately. Granted, with an extra thumb, that probably wouldn't have taken me nearly as long as it did. Just clipping off the little part that I had it too far on the paper, so it didn't do the notch totally out. And so now I'm taking a piece of, I take a large Ziploc baggie and then I cut it into strips. These strips are about a ½ inch wide. I do not know exactly. I just know that I have to make it so it's shorter than my little notches. You don't need the die for the notches, but it is nice. And you can make those further apart if you want, just partially die cutting here and there to make, I could have done it on the whole thing. And that die set is from MFT. I'm pretty sure it's called the double slider set. And then I'm just taking some heavy duty double-sided adhesive and sticking that together. Now the tip to this one is to make sure that it is tight but not too tight. So you'll see here I think it was a little too tight, so I loosened it up just a smidge because I want it to be able to go back and forth fairly easily. And then to secure it, since I know I have it loose enough, I use a little mini attacher or a little mini staple there. I think you can use a regular stapler. As long as you can get it underneath there, you should be fine. Then I'm just laying out my background, and I've remembered I wanted to stamp a sentiment on my pull tab. So before I actually attach this and glue it together, I am actually going to stamp it. This could be done afterwards, but we all know how that works. I tend to get ink everywhere, so it was a good thing I remembered to do this beforehand. And I am just partially inking that one stamp because it says with you, and I just wanted it to say with. And then I am gluing a extra heavy piece of cardstock behind the green pull tab. So I think it was the Nina's Classic Crest 110 pound cardstock that I glued behind it, just to give it some added stability. And then when I adhere this, I want to adhere it all the way to the back part because that's going to stop my slider from moving. So depending upon how far you want that slider to move would kind of depend on where you want to put that staple on there. And so now I'm trying to remember how this one works. It has been a while since I've actually done one of these. And usually I do two. So I do one in the front and one in the back. And I was thinking I wouldn't have to do that just to do, but then my basket would be going the opposite direction I wanted it to go. So I had to do cut the slit in the back. And I just used a Trinity stamp Slimline stripes or strips. I think it's strips. Strips die cut and just partially die cut it and cut off the little piece on the end to make my actual cut in my cardstock there. All which could be done with a craft knife. And then I just used my Misty to help line up that bottom piece there. And then I had popped up my basket on foam dots so it can clear the front grass. I did end up zhuzhing it backwards a little bit so it didn't get caught, or the little ants didn't get caught on the grass there. And I put in a little ant trail underneath it. And now I'm just setting the rest of my scene up. So I tucked the car back behind the grass, and I knew I wanted to do that, so I didn't put glue all the way there. I kind of left it open a little bit, and then I tucked the tent in there. And then I'm just deciding what my mice are hungry for. And of course, the little ants are going to be eating all the things too. And if my basket had chocolate and cookies in it, I'm pretty sure I'd steal it too. And so here's me covering up that little splattery oops. And then adding all of the details. So I had some mini ants cut out, and I thought those would look cute in the background. And then finishing my sentiment for the front. And because I was lazy and didn't want to find the little 3 ... I used the ant trail, which I kind of thought was kind of cute. In my Misty, I am using a sticky mat. Jennifer McGuire I think she has it linked in one of her videos, but it's just a really cheap sticky mat from Amazon for like your silhouette cameo or it's like an off-brand. Super cheap, cut it apart, and it works wonderfully. So I'm just doing the inside of my card here using some more of the images that I had already colored and cut out. And don't let the ants get you down. The other part of that sentiment, the ants is just from the letters were from an old Close to My Heart alphabet set, and the rest of that sentiment is from the Ink Road stamps. I just masked off the one word that I didn't want. And so life is a picnic with ants. So as you can see on the final cards here, I did go back in and add the little lantern and the pop can because I found it. So just to finish it off. So thanks for watching and subscribing. Have a good day.